latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
All right, good Thursday morning. Amy Jacobson here. Charles Thomas in for Dan, who will be back tomorrow. I think he's moving up here. I think he's a snowbird, and he's moving up here for the winter or the summer months.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's too hot in Florida.
Yeah.
But I don't think everybody that I know that has homes in Naples also has places in the Midwest. St. Louis, Chicago, Glenview, yada, yada.
Chicago is just fantastic. I mean, when you...
In the summertime?
Well, in the summertime, really, year-round, the problem with Chicago are the politics and the taxes and and how the politics have affected the taxes. And that's why people have to leave. But, man, you think about what happens in this city from Friday to Sunday and what there is to do. You just can't beat that part of it.
But
can you afford it?
It used to be the weekends where the violence was happening, but now it's Monday through Sunday.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I've called 911 3 times this week. There was shots fired, and whenever I yell everybody in my house, get down, because there's a huge gang war on Ashland right now.
Really?
Yeah. So it's really, and so when Mayor Johnson says this, I was like, I don't know what town you're living in.
The key investments that we are making continue to push forth our effort to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. Our investments are clearly having some strong returns as violence continues to go down in the city of Chicago.
I don't feel any safer. Do you feel any safer?
I don't feel any safer.
With these new numbers out?
Going back to words, that's one that politicians use. They call it investments. It's spending.
Yeah.
Spending.
Yeah, what exactly is he investing in?
Investing. I hate that word. Just say it. We need to spend more money for this or that. But they say investments.
Well, they're having a new thing this summer for, 4th of July weekend, Labor Day. They're having more sports that you can play in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night?
Yes. I'll get more details on it, but I know that they're working on that.
Yeah,
because they need some referees.
Yeah, get some
Well,
yeah.
Somebody's paying referees a lot of money. Some big donor. Well, I don't know who the man is behind the cloth, but is paying referees money to help kids stay organized. Because without referees, it's recess.
They're back into that?
Pardon?
Midnight basketball, they're back to that.
I'm suggesting midnight volleyball.
I knew
Let's
you were.
Let's expand a little. Volleyball, basketball, whatever. But do you feel safer? I mean, you live in the city.
I got to tell you that.
Has there been a paradigm shift?
I do. And I'll tell you why. Because the cops, at least where I live in the West Loop area and in the River North area, they're not allowing a lot. Now, keep in mind, it's been cool this spring, and we haven't had the real warm weather yet. But it seems as though they're a bit more aggressive about carloads of young men driving around, and they're stopping them. They're saying,
really?
Hey, where you going? That kind of thing. I've noticed.
I have seen a lot more police making stops.
Yeah. So Which
during COVID, I mean, nobody was.
Nobody. They run a red light.
I don't know who would run a red light. Yeah. Just kidding. I got nabbed.
Really?
After doing it for 12 years.
Yeah, but I don't know. I get the sense that it's not as intense as it was a couple of summers ago. Now, this summer, it remains to be seen what's going on.
Right, but also this weather, this spring we're having is the worst spring I can remember since living here since 1971.
We've
never had it that. I am wearing boots. I had a winter coat on and a hat this weekend.
I am not allowed to smoke a cigar in my house. I can't go on the balcony, and I can't go on the porch because it's too cold.
Yeah.
And I love this. That's my passion for the spring and summer. Smoke a cigar, and as much of the fall as I can get one in. But I can't do it now.
So maybe that's why there's a reduction in crime. I relate everything to weather.
It could be. That could be it.
I don't know. With more on this, let's welcome to the program Thomas Weitzel, a retired police chief at Riverside, Illinois, and a friend of the show. Good morning, Mr. Weitzel. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So how was your spring going?
My spring is going well, and I agree with some of the statements that you guys have both made, but I can tell you once the warm weather hits, crime will spike. It always has. Weather always affects crime in every community, but it has been an unusual spring for sure.
Now, there was an article written about Republicans discussing ways to help reform the Safety Act, and it's centered around Megan Boss. She's 37 years old. She was reported missing in February, and 2 months later, they found her dead, doused in bleach in the area behind this illegal's backyard. Apparently, he claims that she had a drug overdose, but he didn't call for help. And you know why? Conjecture on my part. Because he's here illegally, and they let him out. He went to court, and they didn't even hold him until his trial. They just released him and said, come back to court. Did he return for his court hearing? Do we know?
I don't. That's the case where the Safety Act actually did not cover that crime. I mean, he was released per the Safety Act itself. It was written in the statute. So while prosecutors didn't request it, they also didn't. They couldn't have kept him unless there was some other circumstance that a judge would have found. So I mean, I think that's the case up in, is it Algonquin? That
well, she was missing. Yeah. She's an Algonquin woman, but she was found in the back of a home in Waukegan. But he defiled a corpse. So you could go out. You can let somebody sit in your basement for 3 days, start decomposing, and then pour bleach on her, wrap her in a tarp, and put her in a garbage can. And you're free to go?
Yeah, the concealment of a homicide is not a mandatory hold in custody. That's not one of the requirements in the Safety Act. So that just shows you how absurd that is. And no wonder the family is outraged. There's no consideration for victims written in that Safety Act. I can tell you that for sure.
I mean, I don't even know this woman, but I feel for her family. I mean, waiting for weeks, desperately searching for her, and to know what he did with her corpse because he doesn't want to get deported. I mean, shame on him. He should be on the top of Tom Holman's list to deport. But another part of the Safety Act, aggravated battery against a police officer is not a mandatory hold?
It is not. It's one of my real pet peeves is that you can batter a police officer. That means you either injure him or her. You can even use a device such as a baseball bat or maybe a pipe. That's being the aggravated part of an aggravated battery, using a weapon, or you're seriously injuring an officer. That is not mandatory being held in custody. In fact, most of the aggravated batteries against police officers are released from the police facility. They don't even make it to first appearance court. They're released from the police station after injuring a police officer.
I mean, we do live in a clown world. Mm. And also, you wrote an article in the ChicagoContrarian.com about, let's talk about it, the consent decree. There's no consent in a consent. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, so, the Trump administration just announced that they're dropping consent decrees against Louisville and Minneapolis, and then 10 other active investigations that are currently going. They're going to be dropping those. And there is no consent in a consent decree. The consent decrees are like a business. It's so bad that they would have training seminars for police chiefs on how to manage these. Because what happens is the federal government takes over your department. It takes over budgeting, staffing, recruiting, training. I could go on and on. Discipline. They dictate to you on how you're going to run your department. If you say no, they sue you. So they file a civil lawsuit against you in court and bring you into court to have you comply with it. There's only one agency out of all 23 municipalities and cities that fought that, and that was in Phoenix, Arizona. Every other agency went along with it because it's just too expensive for the municipalities or cities to fight. And it is like a vice grip. They tell you exactly what you're going to do, which reduces morale, retention, recruiting. And it doesn't allow the community, think about this, the community you live in, they don't have a say in how the policing should be conducted in the area that you're living. It's run by the federal government.
Chief, as a retired cop, what are your thoughts, if any, about Larry Hoover being released after all these decades in prison?
You know, I thought that was a terrible move, regardless of what people think of Trump, your supporter or not supporter. I believe that move is the wrong one. It sends the wrong message. I believe that, he might get a measure of justice. I don't think he's going to be released. Hopefully the governor here in Illinois won't do the same. But, how about the victims and the victims' families? What justice do they have? I saw them talking on the news the other night about how he's been reformed and how he could help reduce gang violence in the Chicago area. Not one mention about victims' families, loved ones, nothing. Not a single mention. So I don't believe that's the right move to do. It's done. It's happened. And I'm hoping that our governor doesn't follow suit.
Really? So you don't think, but do you think Governor Pritzker will grant him a parole hearing? Well, he's got to have a parole hearing either way, but then Pritzker can decide whether he stays in jail or not.
For somebody that wants to run for president, that's obvious. For him to do that would be, in my opinion, be a huge political mistake. I don't think the governor's staff or his advisors would advise him to do the same that President Trump did for Mr. Hoover. I don't believe that's going to happen.
Wow, so it's all political.
Interesting.
All right. Tom Weitzel, such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. He's the retired chief of police at Riverside Police Department and always a good friend of the show. And we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great morning.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has